Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? All right, tonight I might have Amy Cup. I don't know if she's going to make it on, but she may. So just wanted to start with that. Welcome to the Prize Inside. Tonight we got a pretty epic one. This one, oh man, when I started getting into the registered herbalist stuff, I never realized how big my world would get on top of the chiropractic stuff, which is insane. You never stop learning on any of those things. But one of the neatest things I've ever done is get into this herbalism stuff. And so as we go, as you know, if you've been with me before, this is kind of a way for me to learn with you, like as we do these kind of things. So, oh, sweet. Somebody's using my, oh yes, Julie. Thank you, Julie. It's nice to hear from you. Good evening yourself. This one should be really good. Reminder before we start, I want to make sure I really want to get get my channel built up on Rumble, because they have this really cool where you just kind of listen or ask questions as you go. Oh, good question, Kate. So let me put this my Rumble channel called The Prize Inside on there. So here's my recommendation on herbalism. So I took one by Dr. Low Dog. Her name's Tiarona Low Dog. And so that one it's a very big clinic. It's like a physician's level one. It takes about 2 years. That one does. However, this is where I recommend highly to go. If I do it later, I'll show you. It's called the American Herbalist Guild, AHG. Okay. In there, it's a big, huge site, very, very inexpensive, those kind of things. What's so cool about that? You can go and you can become a clinical herbalist, which is what I'm kind of working towards. That's like 800 hours. But you can always be a registered, and there's all these classes in there. So if you look up American Herbalist Guild, I think they do a fantastic job. they made fun of me because you know how you have different levels of membership. So when you go in, I picked this one, and it's like for a clinical herbalist. So it was a little more expensive than, the lower down. So they're like, hey, you're not a clinical herbalist. Yeah, you can't have that one. I'm like, oh, crap. That's okay. Well, just donate it, and they were like dying laughing because they're like, really? I go, yeah, what? I'm not trying to jump the boat, man. I got too much to learn. So anyway, as we go tonight is going to be about antibacterial, antiparasitic herbs and kind of the holistic way to look at it versus that anti word, which we'll talk about a little bit. So before I start, usually I have to find 3 little news articles. And don't forget, I'm pretty much addicted to this stuff. So on Wednesday night, we also have I can't ever tell you the time. It's between 3 and 6, somewhere in there. But so in that time frame, we try to do one called Whole Health Weekly, where we go over these articles a little bit more in depth that I keep finding. Some of the newer stuff, some trends in healthcare. I think there's a gap right now. There's a gap in like every week. There's something new coming out, and I want to make sure we're up ahead of that so we know, how to approach it in our life. So these are the 3 little snippets before we start. So butyrate. Butyrate is a fatty acid. It's like a small chain fatty acid. And what this is, it's in a lot of foods. It's in a lot of fibrous foods. So like fruits, veggies. The biggest one they found it with, butyrate, is just one of these fibers they find in gut. Let me put it in there, Julie. It's American. Actually, I'll go get the link while we're talking. American Herbalist Guild. Okay. So I'll just put the link right in because it is totally worth it. It is a big site. These guys have done phenomenal work. And it just keeps adding, like it just constantly adding. So I just put the link in there. Totally worth looking into. I'm telling you right now. So sorry about that. So butyrate, let's go back to that. So fiber is a big part of how your probiotics live in your gut. You can't have just probiotic without a fibrous material. A good example is, let's say you have probiotic rich yogurt. Okay. So sometimes there's not a lot of fiber in that yogurt, right? So one of the things that can happen is that doesn't work as well as if you had like a fruit or something with that fiber in it. The butyrate actually is shown significantly to, protects the whole gut lining. So a lot of times it's huge in being able to make sure we're protecting. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that tonight because that's a part of the stuff we're going to go over. But that was pretty cool. So I thought butyrate, just remember that when you're doing fermented foods, doesn't always have to be fermented, but just make sure your diet has some like fruits, veggies, stuff with fiber in it, because that helps. Okay. That helps your probiotics or your good bacteria as well. All right. Detoxing through sweating. So saunas, big deal right now. Detoxing through that, very, very good idea. They're finding that it's huge on lead in this other one called, I think it's cadmium. Huge bad. So lead, obviously, we know is a very neurological toxin that can be horrific if it's like in your system. And they're finding that saunas, getting in the regular thing of actually sweating, can help a ton in getting rid of some of these heavier metals. So just remember that. You don't have to just do supplementations for heavy metal detox. Sweating will do it too. And here's an interesting one that I didn't think about. Consuming 1 cup of milk reduces colorectal cancer by 17%. So I thought that was interesting. So the milk, that because of the amount of calcium in 1 cup of milk, it's like 300 milligrams of calcium. We've had other ones. Remember our vertigo and dizziness conversation. Remember we talked about having too much calcium can be an issue too. Yeah, I wish raw milk, Kate. I know. Good luck trying to find that. I don't know. Maybe with our new people in, we might actually see that. But raw milk would be an awesome alternative. However, there's so much crazy about that topic that, if you research it yourself and do your due diligence, because that's a really good one. Organic milk minimally. All right. So we'll go there. All right. So those are my 3 tonight. That was pretty fun. Okay. So now let's talk about these antibacterial. I'm so excited about this subject because so each week, I don't know if you've been with us before. So we do one on mental. We do some mental strengthening type stuff. And then that was last week. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? And then we did one on the hip. So we'll do exercise related situations as we go as well. So just remember that as we go in the 3, that's why I love the Rumble channel, because you can kind of see the actual idea behind it, like physical, emotional, chemical, right? So that's what we're going for. So tonight is another great one. So let's talk about it. Let's learn some stuff about antibacterial and antiparasitic. Well, it's antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiparasitic herbs. Just didn't make a great title, so that's why I did that. All right, here we go. What are we going to go over tonight? We're learning that there are herbs that improve your body's force of body against bacteria, microbes, parasites, and viruses. How do these herbs get this process done? And what are the herbs you can count on, right? So that's basically what we're going to go over tonight. And please throw some, like Kate's doing and Julie's doing, throw some questions in there as we go, because this one's going to be an interesting take. I want you to think outside the box a little bit. This is a holistic situation. So what we have to do is kind of change our mindset. And that's what we got to talk about before we get into the herbs. So what is an antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiparasitic mean in the holistic way? Okay. It's much different. And I'll get to it, I swear. When we look at the things in holistic perspective, we have to take a different view of what the anti-prefix means. Okay, so the anti-prefix typically means in the medical world is to eradicate or work against whatever we're going against. Good example, antibiotics. Anti means against, biotics means life, right? Antibiotics. So in that term, maybe, if you look at it that way, right, it might not be the best thing overall, I would think, right? So antibiotics, that's literally what it means. Okay. So in a holistic perspective, when we hear antibacterial, we have to think, and this is true too. You got to remember, in the herbal, a lot of naturopathic, all of them are not true. How am I going to say it? Are not truly worded in the holistic mindset that a chiropractor would be. I believe that our body needs no help. It just needs no interference. We are perfect. 100%. If 100% of if our body is 100% correct, our intelligence of that body is 100% of the time going to work, and we will have 100% health. Okay. With that mindset going forward, how do we take on these antibacterial? Okay. So when we look at it, when we look at the anti side of the world, we say, what are we going to do to make sure that the bacteria that we don't want is unwelcome? Okay. So we're not trying to kill bacteria, right? We're not trying to anti the bacteria. We are trying to make them so uncomfortable that they don't want to be around, right? Antimicrobial, antiparasitic, those are all the same thing. And one of the reasons why when people go after herbal treatments, a lot of times they struggle if it gets to like a bacterial thing gets out of hand. One of the reasons is they're trying to kill a bacteria, right? In herbal world, in every world that is holistic, we're going to try to make that bacteria as most uncomfortable as we can, giving our body the intelligence to let it do the work. Okay, so we're going to go over that too. Oh, yes. Brian, yes. Apricot seeds and pumpkin seeds. Those are very, very good. Very good fibrous situations too. So, especially apricot. Well, both of them. Pumpkin seeds are phenomenal too. Jeez. Help diet suppression. It's kind of interesting. I know. I just eat too many of them, so I don't know how I'm getting anything out of it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys are listening, give me a thumbs up or something if that understanding makes a little sense. I was trying to explain it to myself, and sometimes I overdo. Okay, so let's keep talking about it. When we see an herb, so this is where I want to make sure when we see an herb or other nutrition work as this antibacterial, for instance, we have to think to ourselves that the immune cells, that the immune system cells that this herb responds to is dealing with that bacterial side. So what I mean by that, maybe the herb you're taking is good for the cells that take care of the immune cells, right? We have all these different immune system cells, and some immune cells do certain things and some immune cells do other things. And so with this one, okay, so a bacteria uses these cells called macrophages and neutrophils. There will be a quiz at the end. Just let you know. Just kidding. So the macrophages and neutrophils, some of these herbs we're going to talk about get those up to their maximum capacity. They're good for the activity of those cells, right? And that's what creates this bacteria, to get scooting because the immune cells are better, right? Now, here's the difference. In a medicine, they might just go after the bacteria to try to kill it, kind of bypassing your macrophages and neutrophils. So they don't know. Maybe they're trying to attack this bacteria and they get the help from the chemical. Okay. Now, not a huge deal, except for if we keep doing that, what's a macrophage and neutrophils do? Hey guys, I don't need to be here. I got this new chemical involved, and man, I think I'll just take the night off because my human's gonna take this chemical to get rid of it anyway. So what the heck? So then maybe this is just a possibility you make less, right? Okay, so parasites. So parasites use the immune system cells they're called eosinophils, basophils, macrophages, and mast cells. Okay, parasites need a little bit more help, right? So there's 4 different immune system cells that go after parasites when they're in there. Okay, so what's our job as holistic people? It's not to make sure we don't have parasites, right? Our job is to make sure we have the best stinking eosinophils, basophils, macrophages, mast cells all over the place. That's what our job is, right? And so we have to think that way as far as, going forward with all that. Okay. So what are we doing? So when we look at holistic and we use these herbs in certain ways, what are we doing? There's 2. 1, you're strengthening the cells that we're talking about. Okay. So we're strengthening the cells, giving them a favorable environment to do the best work. Okay. There's another one. What if some of the herbs look at the environment of the human body? Okay. So what I mean by that is sometimes the entire system, right? So if you think, I think we've talked about this before, when your stomach acidity is off, so you can have basic or acidic stomach. It's not balanced, so you have issues. So let's say you have the more acidic stomach, starts getting your good bacteria to die off, and then these bad bacteria can kind of sneak in there. What if some of these herbs help that good gut bacteria to stay alive because it balanced out the acid in your stomach? Hopefully that makes sense. It's an environmental situation. Or what if it cleaned up? That's what we're going to talk about on the next slide. Or let's say it made a better gut microbiome. Some herbs actually do this. They help you with hydration. Maybe they help your mental health because now your environment, right? So we have chamomile tea helps you take a relaxation. All of a sudden your cells feel fantastic as you go. better blood or fluids in general. So all of these herbs that we're going to talk about tonight have some kind of cool situation. I just don't want us getting lost in the weeds on anti, okay? Because this is the one herb classification that I get nervous about, because then people start using as a sick care situation. What do I mean by that? It happens now already, and it's not a bad thing, but when someone's sick, they take elderberry, right? Now, elderberry's gotten to that point where it's an herb that's really, really good. In fact, it's fantastic for, oh my gosh, for whatever the lung flu thing that was going around for these poor kids and everybody else. I could not believe the results we were getting with a elderberry tincture. So just remember that one. A lot of these people were so miserable, they didn't want to do anything. But if I could suck down some elderberry, it was good. All right. So anyway, so the idea is that we want to take it on as a holistic. We want to make our environment the best we possibly can, because a lot of these, if you're prone to these kind of situations, UTIs, bacterial gut problems, there's so many skin irritations, right? These are huge ones, but they're definitely more about your environment and what you can do. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to get your brains wrapped around that ideal body situation, right? All right. So what it comes down to, be proactive. Okay. So let's say you have a major problem with chronic UTIs. Let's just use that. Chronic UTIs. Women, you get it. Some people have this a lot. The scary one, to be honest with you, is men having UTIs in their older ages. Scared me to death. With a couple of my patients, I've had it happen where they didn't know what was going wrong and they couldn't walk hardly. So my men that go with this situation, they don't feel it. Like a female will have pain, discomfort, those kind of things. A man might not feel it at all, and it hits and it can get so rampant. And that's why it's not my favorite to even bring up, because it was so traumatic to a great, great man that ended up, he's recovered now. He's doing well, but man, you put him in a wheelchair. That's how bad those UTIs can be. So biggest thing is like understanding what kind of chronic infection you typically get. So what is that? Is it a skin thing? Is it a nerve thing? Is it a, urinary thing? We'll go through all of those. Okay. So if you have those chronic type of infections, maybe it's time to make sure when you don't have the infection, you start taking something and taking it on a regular basis, right? That's the key to the entire thing. And just making sure you're proactive. And that's the difference between a holistic situation and anywhere else. You got a UTI, you got an ear infection. What are we going to do from that ear infection? Now, after doing this study with you guys tonight, I've actually learned some things I'm going to do for my parents that have kids with chronic ear infections. Tonight will be that night that I can actually take it to that next level, because I didn't even think about doing the proactive thing. You just don't until that time frame. It's like what happens with us as humans. Okay. So think of that. So a chronic ear infection kid, how would you approach it? That first ear infection, it happens. It's over. It's done. They're feeling good. Now, what could we do in the meantime until then, right? That's what we got to think about. Okay. So this is the cool part. Yeah, we might not be too long tonight, actually. Yes, Kate, it's so true. Herbs. And here's the neat thing about herbs. They don't need to be every stinking herb on the planet Earth in you at one time, because they're so powerful and they work really well. You just need to make sure. I always say, like, my kids and my wife think it's the funniest thing. Even my buddies that we play board games or whatever, I'll drink tea all the time, like trying to do tea as much as you possibly can. But I do this huge variety of different teas. Some days I feel like this one. Some days I feel like this one. And the reason a lot of times is just overall health, right? And so think in that terms. We're going to go over a couple that are called adaptogens. Adaptogens are fantastic, just overall herbal for every part of the body. There's a few of these adaptogens in what we're going to talk about as far as herbs go. But it's one of those things like herbs are, it's so easy. Nutrition, herbs, vitamins and herbs. Vitamins, you should probably stay way up. Vitamin supplementation, those kind of things. Make sure you're doing those on a regular basis at a good level. But a lot of the herbs you can go in runs, and that's what's so cool about it. So all right, here we go. So in the GI or the gastrointestinal, these are the best ones for antibacterial, antimicrobial, antiparasitic. Now, when I say that, is this trying to cure that stuff? No, this is trying to set up the environment so these things don't come. Okay. So, is there times for that? Yes, there is. That's when you work with an herbalist to see if it is a possibility to get out of something like that. Right. So, just to let you know that, oh, shoot, let me do before we go into these. Here is my other cool little thingy. In the top corner of the screen is it's called a QR code, and it should bring you to a sweet site that actually the lady I think there's like 20 herbalists on this site. It's called Full Script. It's fantastic. The Full Script site, it has all these vetted nutrients. You can pick anything, and there's 23,000 supplements on there, but you know where you're getting it. So just to let you know, that's what that QR code is. Okay. So in the GI system, the gastrointestinal system, chamomile is one of your biggest, which is really cool. Rosemary, sage, golden seal, Oregon grapefruit, garlic, oregano, olive leaf, and myrrh. What I love about this, it makes total sense. The stuff that's delicious that you would put on food goes right with the GI stuff. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that cool that oregano, garlic, sage, rosemary, they're all spices you possibly could use on different meats and everything else, and it's sitting right there as far as like what is good for it. So that's always cool. So I would say remember those. Hopefully, and if you don't, just subscribe to one of the things. You can come copy these later too. The nervous system. So a lot of people don't know that you can get these parasites, bacteria on nerves, right? And it's very true. Very, very true. Antimicrobial as well. You can have microbe issues. Think of shingles. Think of crap like that. That's not fun. Nervous system herbs, though, lemon balm, St. John's wort, and licorice. St. John's wort and licorice are ones you want to use with a doctor. Okay. So it's not, making sure that you understand how to use them. But that in the nervous system situation, lemon balm is probably the most beautiful, nice, very, very easy. You got a kid that's got a urinary system, nervous system issue, maybe some calming effect to it as well. It's just really nice on nerves in general. One of the bigger ones, respiratory, the antibacterial, microbial, and antiparasitic, echinacea, garlic, thyme, golden seal, reishi, and astragalus. Okay, so remember, we'll talk about, so echinacea makes sense. Very, very good one to get into, starting that as a tea every week at least. Garlic's fantastic again. Golden seal is not you're not going to want to ingest that very much. So just remember that one. You could put it up there. It doesn't mean you're going to want to use it, right? Because if all these other ones do good, pick one that tastes good. Reishi mushroom, though, dang, that stuff is delicious. As a tea, hot tea, it's fantastic. Reishi does an overall, kind of acts like what I call the adaptogen, what we talked about before. An adaptogen is its ability to adapt the whole human body and the organ systems. And so reishi kind of falls in there because, oh man, that's my next, Kate and Julie, both of you. If you get into the herbalism thing, Well, I'll have to pick out a seminar on mushrooms because that's my next one. Not the crazy mushrooms, the ones with the super health stuff that is coming, right? So, and then astragalus. Astragalus is a huge adaptogen, good for almost everything, but it's really, really cool that it's antibacterial, antimicrobial, and antiparasitic for the lungs and the respiratory system. That's talking throat as well, guys. So remember that. Okay, skin. You've probably heard of a couple of these, so this might not be that shocking, but skin is neem. Neem is a good one, and tea tree oil. We've all heard of that. Very good for those skin bacterial infections, microbial infections. And then essential oils, like a ton of different essential oils on the skin can be huge. So there are so many that are good for skin that we just put like a lot. Okay. So here's one that I really, really want everybody to think about because this is one of the more chronic areas for these type of situations. Okay. And it is the urinary. Okay. So the urinary, there's two. One's called uva ursi and one's called juniper berries. Okay. So the uva ursi is super powerful. It can be a very, very nice. I don't know if it's any good as a tea, but I do know it's super good. It's super good for urinary tract type situations. And it's something like this one. If you ever do something like that, let me know. Come in and we'll talk about it so we can walk through a few things. Kate says, I've heard that skin issues means liver needs detoxing. Almost every time. Well, okay. That is a great point. So holistically, when I say there are skin issues, I say the whole body needs detoxing in some level. Now, right now, it's very popular to say the liver, because the liver is a huge detox engine. It has two phases of detox, phase 1, phase 2. A lot of people's phases are screwed up in that situation. Skin can be a lot of different situations, though. So but liver could be, you'll never go wrong with detoxing your liver, number one. And number two, if like somebody has that situation, and typically they do, like psoriasis, those kind of things. In my estimation, I think most of our skin issues come from a gut microbiome that is really messed up. Now, are they all connected? I agree, right? Are they all connected to a lot of the different things? It's one of those things where it could be easily the liver, but I would start honestly with like a gut microbiome, making sure that our gut bacteria is as best we can, and then see how the psoriasis and the skin, and a lot of times it takes a long time, guys, for some of these skin ones. Psoriasis, especially, once it shows up, it is rough. And that's why some of the medications out there, if they can get some kind of relief to these poor people, all power to them until we figure out why it's happening. But skin is the ultimate playbook on like what is happening within you. So just remember that in the urinary tract, uva ursi, juniper berries. All right. So the reproduction. So, the stuff for reproduction, again, tea tree oil, golden seal, and thyme. So a lot of times those are really good. Just different herbs that we could use. So I'm kind of excited about this one because of how simply you could add something and not have major issues. So, and I know so many have these issues that they just don't understand why they happen. And maybe these will help to kickstart either the cells or get the environment correct to where you could actually have a good shot at beating one of those things. All right. Let me go back. I want to see. Yeah. So I'm going to make a little research. Next time I'm in, we're going to find out on these chronic ear infections for kids, because I really want to find a good answer. Some kind of really cool, popsicle that you can put, like Kate, you guys all know, Julie and Kate, you both, one of the neatest classes I ever went to was the herbal making. like the gummies and all those kind of things. Whoa, that was fantastic. If you make your own gummies, I had no idea because everybody, you think as soon as she started pulling out the stuff, you're thinking weed gummies and stuff. And we made astragalus gummies. It was awesome. So it has nothing to do, we think nefarious, but when we were out there, it was unbelievable. You could have a chamomile gummy bear, right? But you make it yourself. It's like, I don't know how much I would pay for that. That's how good it is. I'm not even kidding. We were in the class, we took them, and it was like, how is that so powerful? Yeah. Yes. So you can make elderberry gummies. Try that and taste it. It's crazy the energetics of food when you make it yourself. And that, oh man, I would try. And guys, if you grow your own, understand that the world that we live in is energetic. Okay. So this energy, we do this thing called muscle testing in our office. And this muscle testing, I put your arm up and we test you. Well, the way we do it, we can kind of do this score thing. Okay. So we'll walk through this at the end of this. So if it's a food that I think you should eat or you're going to eat, you want the score when we score it in this muscle testing thing of 10 or above. Okay. So typically you'll get fresh apple out of the grocery store. Okay. So it's been sitting in the grocery store a little bit. It's gone through some stuff. So it'll be like 15, maybe 12. If they're starting to rot or they've been there a while, they start getting to 7 and 8. You can still eat them. And around 7, you want to throw that stuff away. My wife, Rachel, makes me test all of our meat because she always questions. And so on a few occasions, it's been lower than a 10. But if it's lower than a 10, she's like, I'm good. I don't want to do that because the energy matters. The energy matters to your food. And so when you grow your own herbs, here's the crazy part. So I take that same apple and I grow it. I'll give you an example. I tested it. So we did our own sauerkraut and I used my own cabbage. Okay. It's all organic, all those kind of things. That cabbage tested at a 50. Okay. And so this is a muscle testing thing. It tested at a 50 because it was out of now in a normal cabbage out of the store, 12. Right. So the herbs you're pulling out of that garden with the intention and this beautiful stuff you're making is going to be in the 50s. So it's kind of hard to discern how good, like if you have your homemade elderberry and something you buy at the store, right? And you're like, man, this, the one I grew worked great. Why didn't this one work as well? Right. And that's kind of the reason why, but I digress. I'm sorry. You got me on the energetics. Oh my God. I love that stuff. Anyway, but yeah, if you can try that and get something, going good for the kids, it would be fantastic. Okay. So like what we were saying, if infections are an issue, of course you can use, herbs for if something happens, like if an acute situation happens, obviously. But after that, let's keep running on it. Don't just stop after the situation's gone. Make a run for like a month on that same herb just to see if you can get you to a point where your body says no more of those, because it gives us our best chance. And then use these use them in cooking, right? Very smart to use rosemary, thyme, garlic, right? Those 3 staples in that old stuff, right? Get some good fresh stuff. And then that's what I would do. Just start adding those kind of things together. Okay. Now, if there is an acute issue that you're really there, maybe come in and get a little more, guidance on there, reach out to me, whatever. It's going to be just fine, right? And so you can just, there's ways to get a hold of me. We can go through the nutritional stuff. Just make sure as you're going, you're being smart and, doing what you're supposed to do, right? So that's the biggest thing. I have no disclaimer on all herbs. They don't cure anything. They haven't ever cured anything. Because we don't look for cures. We're looking for the human body to be the best it possibly can be to let it cure itself. So remember that. All right. So just remember that part. All right. So what are we going to do for our 1% tribe tonight? We are going to go get some teas. Start with one of those. Go get yourself echinacea. Do something cool. Whatever you're having trouble with. Right now, there's a big old lung flu-y something that's knocking people on that, into next week. Some echinacea, so any of that kind of stuff would be really, really good. Start doing the teas at night. Most infections aren't overnight things. They came because our bodies weren't in the right proper area for a long, long time. That's when those infections start. Okay. So I think that is it. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, the Full Script is an awesome supplementation place. If you use mine, we can actually message in between, which is kind of cool. And there's the little link at the bottom, or you can do that little QR code that my wife showed me how to do. And I think that is the coolest thing. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, unless you guys have any other questions tonight, I am going to say goodnight. And then remember, always on Wednesday night, we're going to do Whole Health Weekly. That's where we go over some of those different articles or topics of discussion through TikTok or YouTube, whatever's super popular at the time. If you have something like that, make sure you message in here or Facebook message me, whatever you want to do. Just give me the topic, and then that way I can remember to go over it for that, that video. So with that said, it was great talking to you guys, and I hope you have a great night. Have a good one.